Welcome to James Dashner's The Fever Code. This is the story of how the maze was built. Now let me get this started with really quick. Now, James Dashner's The Fever Code. This is about the story of how the maze was built. I already said that, so let me continue. Now, how was the maze built? Of course, it was built by this one guy, Thomas, and he's the only one who can destroy everything in the maze. And so, like, dude, I don't want my friends to die in the maze. But however, our story doesn't start there. In fact, it starts off somewhere else. This is how it all started off. First of all, we start off in the prologue with Newt. Newt goes ahead and he's all like, "Hey, oh goodness sake, nice! We're in this nice place. We're so great. We're in this nice place. Finally, we got a nice place to live. And his parents are good. He's like great to them, and they're pretty great too. And then suddenly people come in and they're like, sorry, we're gonna need the kid, Elizabeth. We're going to need the kid, Elizabeth. That all happens, and they're all like, sorry about this, though. And the mother's like, no, you can't take her away. Oh, we must. Oh, we must. You want to cure? We must have her. And they're like, no. And they started fighting and fighting and fighting. The dad shot one of the guys, and then the woman, and then the dad tried to shoot two more guys, but he missed both times. And then the woman, the one who sucker punched, Newt, who tried to attack the men like a mosquito finding an elephant, grabbed out a gun and shot the mom and the dad. Just a bad idea. Don't you dare do that. And they're like, oh, come on. These guys are orphans now. Take the other one as well. He'll be a control variable. Really? Is this all science, these guys? There's no humans? These aren't humans? These are variables? Really? Well, that seems very, very bad. And if that is the case, then they're really gonna not be ready for what's in store for them. And then we go ahead and start off with Thomas. Thomas is going to be forced to give it a new name, and his 7-letter name, is Stephen. However, his 6-letter name that they're forcing him to put in is Thomas, and he's going to be known like that forever, which is a terrible thing to do, and he does not want to forget. However, every time he tries to forget it, and he always defies and says, that's easy, my name's Stephen. They put a little shock into his nervous system, and he is forced to actually say it's Thomas, and he eventually even forgot his own name, the one his mom and dad gave him. And so, of course, with all of that, lots of things can actually start happening. And well, the thing is, people got their pens up, their clipboards here, and they're all like, go click, scribble, 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 as header. Oh, yeah, those kind of things. And that's actually a pretty interesting thing here, too, because, number one, they are starting to build a few trials, and everyone's are actually doing things, too. To be honest, these kids are actually mature for their age. I mean, they're 5 years old, and they already know how adults work and everything. They are child prodigies. Manipulated child prodigies. And if the world was not Sunflare, then they would have been great at their jobs, probably been preparing for their schools and things. However, the flares happened, and well, the Sunflares happened, and now they're stuck in this dystopian world where they can't do anything they literally want to do. They have to be forced to do something, or they just die. Well, that's the problem with these guys. These guys don't know who they're messing with. So even they admit that sometimes they forget that they're talking to kids who they're talking to kids who are just literally adults, who act like adults, and they don't actually expect being talked back to them because they're not adults at all. They're not even teenagers yet. Pretty sure they're like 12. They're like at the start of the book were 5. Later they were 10. Now they're 12. That's pretty good too. Of course, then there are lots of other things that start happening. They decide that a lot of people, like the creators that they call themselves, the wicked people, they decide they have to call them. They're like, all right, you know what? We must initiate phase 1. They go ahead, they build a maze, and Thomas and Teresa, his GF, goes ahead and find out that they can do telepathy with each other because of their brain implants, luckily. That'll happen, and they're all like, hey, you know what? Let's just go ahead and do this. Hey, and they were able to build a maze faster because instant feedback is a pretty good thing. Also, there's a beetle glade here too, and that's actually also good too. And to be honest, I think the maze was actually a good idea. It's just that I wish they took out the grievers. And we later even find out that the grievers, whatever they inject you with, is actually a version of the flare virus that can attack the immune, which is actually pretty bad too, because then if you can genetically modify a virus in a laboratory, then it can mutate by itself, and eventually no one is immune. No one. That's actually a pretty bad idea too. And then, of course, people start being forced into the maze. They're deleted their memories. They're got amnesia, and they're like, "Oh, what is happening to me?" And then they actually start figuring out where they are, the maze, and literally everything that is literally happening. And so, of course, with problems and consequences, that all happens. Now, the last thing that I'm going to have to talk about is this: how Thomas has been betrayed. Now, Thomas knows that there's going to be a second trial, and like literally everyone, including the director of Wicked himself, has been infected with the Wicked, has been infected with the flare virus, and literally everyone is they were forced to be purged by Aris, Thomas, Brenda, and Teresa. They were all forced to kill these guys, or as they call them, purge, and completing or putting them to the unknown, because they were all flared up and they had no antidote yet. And then Thomas himself actually says this and realized this: Wicked is not good. They're not finding a cure at all. They're literally just trying to figure out what this darn blueprint thing is. They're not trying a trial of drugs. They're not trying a medicine or something. They're just so obsessed with this blueprint that they don't think of any other options. And then Teresa reminds them that it's just two against literally everyone else. And they're like, oh, sometimes the smallest person can do the biggest change. But again, that argument is backed down too by Teresa and a bunch of other people who could have heard them on their way, which they did not want to. And that's pretty darn good too. That's about it. That's the fever code. One last thing though. Apparently Thomas and Teresa have actually been asked to board into the glade where the gladers reside with their memories intact. However, when Thomas learned that Ava Chancellor, the secondary chancellor before Randall, the chancellor of Wicked, was fired out of commission, Ava Chancellor became the chancellor, and she was like, nonsense, dude. That all happened, and she literally did nothing. She was obsessed. That's about it. So hopefully you guys actually enjoyed this episode. I hope to see you guys soon. Until next time, tune on out, peace, and until then, please wear a helmet. Bye!